Good afternoon and welcome back to Asgard and welcome back to Crackpack. So I've been fairly busy since last episode. You'll notice I have mostly draconic gear. I still have wyvern legs. I did spend a bit of time grinding the Ender Dragon. I know we still need to resurrect him on camera. I ended up depowering a very large chunk of my base and then I worked a lot on our applied energistics area. I did start building out these, and I had an issue, and I was locked up for close to an hour this morning, because silly me, when I started plugging this up, I have this over here ran with a P2P tunnel, and when I started messing with it, when I brought the P2P out, I brought it through, and I mean I had cable anchors and everything, but I forgot, or I didn't realize that my power line was ran through this. And so, like, I just cable anchored, and then I had the power connection, and then had that run over and connect. And I did not realize it. I was like, man, I have no power. Like, what's going on? I kept running around looking and trying to figure stuff out, and couldn't figure it out at all. Also, over here, I did start building out this area a bit, so we've got more vibrant banks. Most of those aren't plugged up at the moment, but we're getting ready for, of course, our power generation. And this building here is actually going to be a combination of reactors. So, like right now, we're setting up our Mekanism one, but eventually we'll have probably maybe a big reactor set up with a turbine. That'll probably be on top, and I'll have the turbine come out as like a tower. And then we'll also have the Draconic Evolution reactor in here. We'll have the IC2 stuff over here. And this will be just a massive power generation building. And then out here, I'm probably going to end up putting some... I don't know if I want to do dynamic tanks with the condensators to change it over from like a gas to a liquid, and then store it as a liquid and then have it transferred back into a gas when we need it. I don't know. But I was thinking about storing our tritium and stuff. I may just do tanks, honestly, because it's just so much power waste to change it into liquid and change it back into gas. Plus, they're extremely slow, so you have to build a lot of them if you want to keep up with a reactor's fuel intake. So, we'll see. We'll see what we end up doing. But anyway, I've got everything prepped here. I taught our system how to make this stuff. By the way, these induction cells take forever. Like, we're talking like 5 minutes, and I even put speed upgrades into a lot of the stuff in the AE building. I worked a lot in the AE building, mainly making upgrades and doing a lot of recipe work and stuff like that. But I got all this stuff crafted. Now, these lasers, we'll get into those a little bit later. They're fairly cheap. Also, the laser amplifiers are fairly cheap. But these things, because these ultimate induction cells take elite induction cells and ultimate energy cubes, and then, you know, it's a big chain of crap you gotta do. Also, for the record, before I forget, you do have to get lithium dust for these. Like, the bottom tier requires lithium dust. This stuff, there's an IC2 recipe for it if you want to use nether quartz in the thermal centrifuge. But since we're already working on the reactor, the best way to set this up is to use your lithium in the chemical crystallizer, and that's going to get you that lithium dust. So it's fairly quick to get. It does take quite a bit if you're going to make very many of these. I know originally I was going to do the Draconic Evolution energy cube. We'll still end up setting one of those up on camera. It's mainly going to be a decoration, of course, for the top of that. But I know Real KC commented and suggested doing the induction multi-block, and I totally agree with him that it is a lot more energy storage. So, and these are scalable. For today, we're going to start with just a 4x4, and then we'll probably end up adding on to it. So, back in here is where the reactor is actually going to go, and we're going to have our laser chargers, and I might put the energy storage multi-block over here and have like a laser set up here and then the reactor in the center. I think that would look okay. And I'm probably going to end up adding windows and stuff. This is just temporary setup. So yeah, I think we're going to do that. So the way these work, first up, you're going to need to build the frame of it. And so we're going to go with a 4x4. So let's go right like this. And the corners and stuff all have to be the induction casings. So just keep that in mind. We'll bring this on back. And then, oh yeah, I made plenty of these. I wasn't sure. I just made a stack because I've got literally everything that's involved with these induction setups is totally automated. All this stuff is totally automated. So I guess we'll have a port on this side. And what you do is you put an induction port down, and that's what's going to input and output energy from your multi-block. And then we'll have our other induction port. For right now, we'll just have one come out the back. We'll eventually change it and have some out the bottom and different things. By the way, these induction ports, their speed is not set as far as how fast they can transfer. So what you need to do if you want to speed those up is use these ultimate induction providers. So, but anyway, the rest of the outside needs to be either ports or casings. So let's go ahead and get the rest of these placed out. Oops. Like that. And then the insides, the guts of the system, needs to be either induction providers, induction cells, or just air blocks would work too. So if you want to build a 4x4 but you don't have enough materials to fill it out, you can do that, and that's fine. But we're going to use induction cells. And the induction cells, by the way, increase the amount of energy storage that it can hold. So initially, I don't think really has much of anything, but you know, as you add these, they're going to increase it, and each one of these adds an additional 204.8 GRF. So massive energy storage. So very, very nice. And then once again, these induction providers increase the speed that it can output and input. So, but we got our little redstone effect whenever we finished it. So if we open it up here, you'll notice that this is the GUI for it. And if we take a look at the statistics, we can input and output 39.32 million RF per tick. So that's pretty insane. And let's see, we have 5 cells, 3 providers. I'm not sure. Like, to give you an idea, we can transfer 9.83 million EU per tick. So it's a lot. It is an absolute ton. Yeah, there's no way to tell, I don't believe, how much energy this thing can store max, but it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a whole lot. So anyway, we've got that set up. Like, let's see, let's grab our Tesseract. We've been getting decent power now that I've shut like everything down. So, and I'm going to grab my ultimate universal cable here, throw that back in there. And so if we were to say pump just a little bit of this stuff out, let me connect this to energy line 1. We'll see that this is getting 128,000 RF per tick. So we're getting up there at a decent rate. I don't want to run this too much though, because we'll end up pulling everything out of our system, and we need that in the system for once we set up the lasers. But you'll notice, like, this isn't even scratching this storage. This thing is going to be able to store a ton of RF, like an absolute ton. So I think it's perfect to complement our reactor. This thing, honestly, this is going to store probably a lot times more than the Draconic Evolution multi-block, and honestly, this can be built way bigger and have a lot more storage if you want it. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into our lasers. Now, these are very, very fun to set up, and like I said, these are going to be very, very important for our reactor. So, I went ahead and made quite a bit of these. We've got, should have 3 sets of 4. Yeah. And we're going to use these ultimate universal cables to move the power around for this setup. And I think what we'll do is we'll set our tesseract up like right here, maybe. And what we'll do is we'll set... The way this works is you're going to use lasers and laser amplifiers. Now lasers are going to feed into amplifiers, and amplifiers can accept up to 5 lasers and then amplify those. And honestly, I should have made one more laser, I think. Oops. I might go make one here in just a second. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to set up, let's see, we'll put our first amplifier right here. Just like that. And nope. I want you to rotate there. These glass sides, these sides that look like glass, are going to be inputs for the lasers, and the solid side is going to be the output. So just keep that in mind. And what we're going to do, we're going to set up, we're going to bring these out like a little ways. And then we'll set up our lasers. And you'll notice it just made a boom sound. That's what we want to here. And we'll set another one up here. And then we'll put another one. Oops. I want you to face up. And then we'll do... Imagine you guys probably know where I'm going with this. We're going to set up another one like right here. And so that is the most lasers that this thing can accept. It is a full 5 set. And, you know, I'm kind of tempted to actually shift this over. I don't know. No, I think I might leave it as... No. Yeah. I'm going to shift it over. Sorry. Okay. Let's actually do it, because I want this one on the wall here. So what we'll do is we'll do that. Okay, there we go. So that, like I said, that's the maximum amount of lasers, because it's going to have the front side as an output. So then what we'll do is we'll come out to maybe like right here, I think, and we'll set ourselves up another laser amplifier, because the laser amplifier can actually feed into another laser amplifier. So it's very, very nice. And I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to have this one come out like this. And we'll have it fire in this direction, and then what we'll do is we'll set up another one. Let's see. Yeah, we'll set it up, I think, right here. Okay. So basically this one's going to build up, it's going to feed into this one, then that one's going to feed out into this one, and then that one's going to feed over towards our reactor. Now, technically, once you set these up and you get your reactor started, you won't have to keep these running. They're pretty much just to start the reaction, and we'll go into that more next episode. But, you know, you'll definitely want to keep them around and keep your setup just in case something happens. Even if your reactor's set up to constantly run, you do kind of want... I would suggest keeping them set up, just because something could happen. You may end up moving your system, and you don't want to have to set up all your lasers again. This is definitely something that I suggest you do as more of like a permanent setup, and not just be like, well, I'll move this later, because it is a little bit of setup time that you're going to spend, as you can tell. Then we'll have that one output from here, so we'll do, oops, 3 lasers like that. I still need to build another one and put it on the top, but that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll put our tesseract down like right here, I think. And we'll bring this stuff out. And we're going to say it's connected to the energy line. Okay, for whatever reason it crashed whenever I set the frequency. I don't know why that is. And we're going to go ahead and tell it to block items, block fluids, and receive energy. By the way, before I forget, this multi-block, like I said, it's completely scalable. And I believe it has roughly the same max dimensions as the dynamic tanks, I think, which would be anywhere from a 3x3, so you could have just a 3x3 with just one block inside of there. But I believe it can scale all the way up to like an 18x18x18, I think. So, I mean, eventually we'll probably end up making one of these like super massive ones. Oh, we can see here, we can hold, in this little thing, we can hold close to 2 billion. So we've got 1.79 billion RF storage at the moment. And like I said, we'll scale this up. It's so resource intensive. And I don't have lithium set up to automatically create lithium dust. So it was like a lot of manual making that stuff. It was terrible. So anyway, let's go ahead and plug this stuff up with the powers. We'll bring a line out from the bottom. And you'll notice these lasers start going off. And, oh, you know what I need? Because right now we're just wasting laser power. Let's get, oh shoot. Let's get ourselves a lever. Totally forgot about that. Okay, before we turn this on, let's go ahead and set the redstone control to work on low signal. And we'll make sure and turn that on. And then we'll plug it up. So now it's building up a charge. So we can see here that it's storing RF, because if we hit this, it's going to release that laser blast. And keep in mind that this will break blocks, and if you stand in this, you take damage. So, and it's actually a decent amount of damage in my experience. But of course I'm wearing the draconic gear now, so that definitely helps cut back a little bit on that. And we'll go ahead and plug this one up. This thing is a little bit noisy, so just a heads up if you couldn't tell. But let's go ahead and we'll bring this one out as well. So many cables. I'll probably end up doing this with like draconic energy transfer or something. I think would be a bit better, like as far as aesthetically. But for now we're going to use mechanical pipes, and I'll adjust it and make it look better. Now you'll notice as I add lasers, this laser gets like bigger and stronger, and we can see that this is building up a decent amount of energy. It's up in the millions of RF right now. This thing does require a lot of power. So it's going to take, I want to say it's like 20 or 30 million RF? No, I don't think it's quite that. I think for like a good jump start, it's like more like maybe 50 million. It's quite a bit that you're going to need. So that's why I would suggest you try to not like turn this on and off a lot. Because like I said, if you get this up and running and your system's set up to keep it running, and it can sufficiently keep it filled with fuel and everything, then this thing's going to run forever, and you're not going to have to jump start it ever again. But if your system's not set up to support that, then you're going to have to jump start it anytime you want to start it. So, which it does require a bit of energy. However, once we get it up and going, you'll notice that the energy that it produces is way more than what it costs. So So anyway, now we're up to 32 million RF. So this will probably end up draining my system fairly quickly, so I may not keep it running, you know, forever. We'll probably set the redstone control. Okay, it's already on low. Let me grab a lever and just set it up so that we can turn that charging system off once we get it up to where we want it to be. And this way we can cut power to it because... Alright, it shut off. It just takes it a minute to run out all the energy in the system. It's weird because, well, it says -18 in the lines. But you'll notice at 63 million RF, it's just now turned green. Like, you can barely see the green bar. So I want to say it's like a billion RF or something. It's a lot that you'll want to get for a max charge to really get it like heavily jump started. Because the way the reactor works, which we'll cover this more next episode, but it's going to require a ton of heat to initiate that initial reaction. So that's what we're using the lasers for. Now once this activates, that reaction is going to keep going until you know, the heat in the system drops. And as long as that reaction's going, the heat isn't going to drop, because it's going to keep the heat up to, I can't remember how many, like, millions of Kelvin it is, but it's a really high temperature. Of course, it's going to need. So the more energy that this laser builds up, the more that it can release. And that's what we want, is a lot of energy. So this releases just a massive laser into the reactor. And, you know, we'll really get it at a good heat to jumpstart it. And the higher initial heat that you have, of course, the more energy that you're going to create from the reaction that's going on in the reactor. So that's why it's very, very important that you get a good laser setup that you know, has a good charge in it. Because if you don't get enough charge in it, all it's going to do whenever you switch that laser on is it's going to fire that burst, and it's going to just basically heat it up, but not high enough for it to actually activate the reactor, and you're just going to waste all that energy. So next episode we will actually get this thing turned on and finally reap the rewards of this huge build. I have been adding on to the dimension that we created and expanding that a little bit as well. So because, like I said, I want it to make sure that we can run this constant and not worry about the fuel and everything. So, I mean, aside from that, aside from the energy cost, the fuel is completely free to us. You know, it's just a time process with the neutron activators and the brine towers and all that stuff. So, hopefully next episode we'll have enough of all of that production going on that we can run this stuff nonstop. And you'll notice that the power usage that we use over there, it's quite a bit normally, but compared to how much power we're going to be producing with this reactor, it doesn't even come close. So we're going to aim for like a really strong reactor setup, and then we'll probably look into expanding this as time goes on. Probably what I'm going to do is build like a large one. Like if we can do an 18 by 18, I may do that. Just a really massive power storage that will build over time. You know, we can keep the air blocks in there until we can fill it up, and then have like a massive power storage, maybe like right back here, I think, or something, for just, you know, this is the main frame of the power unit. And then, you know, it'll come into this this induction multi-block, and then be sent over, because we're going to have other reactors running, of course. So we'll just have like a super power gen. Then that power gen is going to transfer over to our power substations, which of course there's one right there, and I'm going to build another substation right in here, so that we have, you know, everything, and it's going to be sent over probably with quantum entanglement porters, is what I'm thinking. Also, I think I may have mentioned it last episode. I haven't got it automated yet. I'll probably start working on that right after this episode. I can never remember what it's... Oh, yeah, here we go. Not those. The cryo-stabilized flux ducts, we're going to go ahead and get those automated. This stage isn't too hard. This part, it's It's not too bad. We're just going to have to automate jelly cryothium production. But we're going to want these cryo-stabilized flux ducts because, of course, these have infinite power transfer. So they have infinite RF transfer. So that's definitely what we're going to want to go with for that, because I don't think even these ultimate universal cables, they can transfer 128,000 RF a tick, but they're really not going to be enough, because if we get this reactor up to max where I want it to be, it's going to be producing over 3 million a tick. So we'll definitely have to go with the infinite transfer for that, I think, because I don't just want like 80 million cables coming out of the reactor. You know, just having that one cable that can do the infinite transfer, I think, would be our best bet. So, but anyway, I'm going to end out the episode there and probably get these automated. It really won't be too bad because we can produce this cryothium dust. I might see if I can capture a blizz instead of a blizz spawner. That might be the best bet. Of course, doing this, saltpeter snowballs, blizz powder, and redstone is not that bad, because you can actually get the blizz powder from snowballs with destabilized redstone. But if I just set up a spawner, we could do it for free. So I think that's what we might do. I think so, because we're not going to need a ton of them. The reactor is going to be setting right about in here, so we'll probably need like 7 or 8 to get it over to this induction multi-block. We'll probably want some more, though. I'll probably get it set up so that it keeps like maybe 64 of those on hand at all times, because we'll end up using a lot of those. I think for the most part, moving power around our base is going to be a combination of those and the Draconic Evolution. Once we can upgrade that, we'll probably have those running throughout. But they're kind of expensive at the moment. I don't have like a ton of Dragon Hearts, so let's see, it's for the relays. Oh, they don't actually take Dragon Hearts. My bad. Okay, so we could probably make those. I will probably fairly soon set up a wither spawner, because I don't really want to try to make those without a wither spawner. So maybe after we finish this power multi-block, we'll set up a wither spawner real quick or something. So, yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll do a wither skeleton spawner, and then we'll do a wither spawner. So that way we'll have tons of nether stars like I have in all the mods. Like on there I have like stacks of nether stars. And that's kind of what I want, is to have our system run it. If we have like less than, say, like 10 stacks, we'll have the system turn on and start spawning withers and killing them. But anyway, I'm going to quit rambling and end out the episode. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. Of course, it is very, very much appreciated. And next episode, we will get the reactor set up. I'm super excited. It's been expensive on power. But once we get this set up, I'll probably really go crazy with like maybe an RF quarry or something. With like fortune, and maybe make a mining dimension, go all out with quarrying. So, actually, does this pack, I haven't looked, does this pack have funky locomotion? It does. We might make a crazy quarry with that. Yeah, we very well may do a funky locomotion quarry, because those are really OP if you haven't seen them. But yeah, anyway, until next episode, though, as always, do take care, and I hope to see you guys next time.